Hey everybody, Justin Mead here. Time for your Tuesday tip. What I want to talk about today is how to shop lenders. So often when you're looking for a home, you want to be able to talk to multiple different lenders to get the best rate or price possible on whatever the costs are. Some people don't know how to go about this the best way, so I wanted to kind of list out the key points that you should look for when shopping lenders. And there's really four main things. So first off, make sure that you're going between lenders within a really short time period. At least the same day, preferably within a 4-hour window. Reason for this is that rates change every day, and sometimes based on market conditions, they can change midday. So when you go get a rate from lender A, they say 3.25%, and then the next day you go to lender B, pricing might be better that day. So they're gonna say, oh, it's 3.125% rather than 3.25%. So naturally you're gonna go for the lower rate. But if you had gone back to lender A that same day, that next day, they might even be able to do 3.125% or better. So make sure you're doing that at the same time. Next thing you want to do is make sure that both lenders, or however many lenders you're talking to, are using the same exact scenario. So if you're looking at a property for $250,000 with 3% down, make sure you're talking to the other lender saying, run my scenario at $250,000 with 3% down. Make sure they know what type of property, single family, condo, multi-unit, and your term, 30-year, 15-year. The reason is that interest rates are often affected by all of these different factors. So you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. The next thing you want to look at or ask them is, are you being charged any points or LLPAs? So points you might hear of a lot, they're called discount points. This is when you pay more at closing to get a lower interest rate. It can also work the other way where you take a higher interest rate and get what's called a lender credit. The next thing you want to ask about is those LLPAs. Now they kind of work the same way as points. They're risk-based fees, and they either are charged they're either charged in addition to your closing costs, or they're built into the pricing of the rate. Now the reason you want to ask about these is because often you'll see an interest rate advertised as a no points interest rate, which is true, but in fine print they're charging these LLPAs, and LLPA stands for loan level pricing adjustment. Now, it's not wrong that this happens. A lot of lenders do it, and it's just a different way to go about it. But just make sure you're asking for it, because you might be getting an interest rate, again, back to the example before, 3.125%, but you're being charged $1,000 in LLPAs, whereas lender A might be giving you 3.25% with not that extra $1,000 at closing. So again, you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, because I guarantee it, if you look at lender B's charge of $1,000 in LLPAs for the 3.125% interest rate, you can go right back to lender A and ask them to do the same exact thing. And they'll either be able to offer the same rate or maybe even beat it. So make sure you're asking about that. And the last thing you want to do is ask about lender fees. So things like underwriting and doc prep fees. Every lender charges them. Most of the time, at least in Vermont, they're maybe $800, $900, something like that. But still make sure you're asking, because that's the only closing cost, aside from points, that any lenders have any control over. Everything else is completely out of their hands. The appraiser decides how much to charge for the appraisal report. The attorney's going to charge their own fee. The transfer tax in Vermont is set by the state. And the property tax amount and your homeowner's insurance is out of the lender's hands as well, which that's the rest of your closing costs in a nutshell. Really the only thing that the lender has any control over are those lender fees. So as you're shopping around, be sure to hit these four things to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples with lenders and making the best decision possible. If you learned something today and want to hear more, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. And as always, feel free to reach out with any questions.